Stan Lee. Formerly known as Stanley Lieber, was a child of two Jewish immigrants and spent most of his childhood in the midst of the Great Depression. Because of the time period, his family experienced multiple issues with money, and these issues led to daily arguments between his parents that taught Stan how in our current society you need money for everything, including your own survival. This lesson led to Stan working hard at everything in his life, and because of this work, he graduated his high school class a few years early so that he could get a job sooner and faster than anybody else. His search for a job ended pretty soon though, and he got hooked up with the position at the comics division of Timely. He diligently worked as an assistant there, and then his two bosses, Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, were fired, and he was shot straight up to head editor. His new position brought him new benefits and even more work, but before he could really start creating, he was enlisted into the Second World War. Instead of going out on the front lines, Lee was kept back in America, and because of his creative work position, he was put into the Signal Corps training film division. Here, he created multiple films, along with other famous creators, including the legendary and world-renowned children's book author Theodore Swiss-Giesel, otherwise known as Dr. Seuss. He continued to work in the military for 3 years, but once he returned to Timely, the age of superheroes had seemingly ended. Stan now had to create multiple other forms of comics, including romance, comedy, and horror. Stan now felt uninspired and unhappy in his current work. He was so uninspired, in fact, that he even considered quitting the industry altogether, but his current wife, Joan Babcock Lee, whom he'd met and married before the war, convinced him to create one more thing. This creation just happened to not only revive superheroes as a whole, but to completely re-inspire and refuel Lee in his creations. This creation was the Fantastic Four, and they're completely abnormal compared to other superheroes of the time. This team struggled with multiple real-world issues and multiple issues that any reader could relate with. Seeing this team's success, Stan began to continue with his creation of abnormal characters, and pretty soon, his new and most famous hero was born. This character just happens to be one of the most famous superheroes around. This character is the Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man wasn't his only famous character, though. Stan went on to co-create nearly all of the Avengers that we see on the big screen, including Spider-Man, the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. The biggest hero of all, though, was Stan himself, and during his last few years on this earth, he went through many hardships and a few controversies. In 2017, he lost his wife of 69 years, and this sent him into a very deep depression. He never let many people see it, though, and he always kept on his fun and outgoing personality. He was very affected, though, and he stayed affected until his own death on November 12th, 2018. Stan Lee was a legend, and his multiple creation will always go down in history as legendary.